Super fun. It's a, it, yeah. Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
Great.
Yeah, it's subscribe to or yeah, follow me on my X account. Sounds like I'm wait either it sounds adult content or I'm like waiting for you to fill in the X, like fill in the blank, like
Yeah, that's what I got from
yeah,
it.
right. Like tell me, yeah. We are live. So Henry, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Look,
Glad to have you on.
yeah, quick backstory. So Henry and I participated in a hackathon a couple weeks ago, and we prevailed as the champions. yeah.
Number one.
Yeah. It was a super fun event. Shout out to Vivek and Marsh and everybody that put that on at the Techstars Startup Weekend. I remember going into that too. Did you know that it was a hackathon? Like the structure of it. I remember going into it not quite knowing what the structure was and then being like, oh, it's a hackathon. Like, let's go.
Yeah, so I packed a suitcase. Like, I thought I was sleeping there. So I literally showed up on the first day. And then when they were saying we were going to go home at the end of the day, I was like, whoa. I just packed like I packed like pajamas and sleeping bag and like all this stuff because I just thought that we were going to be there for the full weekend.
Classic.
So
You were like disappointed. You wanted to camp out and
I was like, oh man.
Same. I would like to too. Yeah, that would have been awesome. Yeah, Wentworth College was pretty nice.
Sorry?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I thought you said it was CIC.
Oh yeah, Wentworth.
Yeah, no, it was Wentworth.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. The CIC
really nice location.
Yeah, CIC was the winning prize, which
see.
Henry, you got access to CIC for 3 months.
Yep.
Nice. Awesome.
I have access to the co-working space for 3 months there. I've not yet started it yet.
Yep.
But I'll activate it sometime soon.
No, that's awesome.
I'll be in Cambridge. Yeah.
So I kind of want to jump into this, Henry. Actually, I mean, hearing about the hackathon thing and having won first place and getting the rewards for it, and also, this is a product that you came up with and pushed. So like from that point, how did you move forward? Like, were you okay? You know what? I've gotten to this level of development. Let's be real with it and like actually make something. Or were you like, you know what? Let's hold off. I don't know what you ended up doing after that point. This was about 2 weeks ago or so.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a couple weeks ago. So not a ton has happened, but basically, there's a very big difference between an idea that is gonna be, sound like an awesome pitch and is gonna win a, win a hackathon, win a startup weekend, versus an idea that actually is gonna be a great, viable, core to build a long-term business,
right,
and a scalable business. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out right now. The last couple of weeks, I've been mostly meeting with mentors, and so I had another startup I was working on already. So, but I was like, I couldn't enter that into startup weekend because that would be against the.
I thought the same thing. I had an idea I've been working on too, but I was like,
yeah. So now I'm in a tough spot where it's like, well, I have this one thing that has the thing I've already been working on that like has 10 businesses using it and has traction and et cetera, versus this thing that like I just came up with for this weekend, thinking, okay, well, this would be a fun.
That's awesome.
Like thing to do this weekend, but now like it has this Techstars interview, and I have traction with that as well. So yeah.
My advice though is you got the interview, so if you wanted to pitch your other startup, I don't think anybody would hold it against you.
Yeah, we'll see. That's another thing that I'm trying to figure out. I'm meeting with some people this week to ask and see like, hey, so can I, do that?
Yeah, no, I
potentially do that.
Yeah.
Well, what are the chances that you can just be like, hey, let's just keep an open connection here? I clearly have a good idea, one good idea at least.
Maybe I can have two.
Right? And then like, hey, you know what? If they think it's neither of us are good, just be like, hey, let's leave an open channel. I'll like just stay in contact. Is that something that's at this point possible too with these guys?
100%. Yeah. And the reality of the situation is that when you're dealing with such early stage stuff like this, you're investing much more in the team and in the people than you are in the actual idea, because it's very likely that the idea is going to change. It's very likely that there's going to be some pivoting, and that what actually ends up, and there's a tremendous amount of innovational risk. It's like, okay, we're trying to do something that hasn't been done before.
Yep.
Oftentimes, things that have not been done before in business have not been done for a reason, right? So you're really taking a big bet against the crowd, and when you do that, when you take a big bet like that, it's hard to win, right?
Yeah.
That's why, even so many venture capital firms, and even, esteemed established ones like Techstars and like Y Combinator, they still have a really high, failure rate, where companies don't reach the level that they would necessarily expect them to reach. And that's even with all these resources and all this stuff. I know that for entrepreneurship in general, I think it's something like 80 or 90% of businesses are no longer trading after like just 5 years. So, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. So are you planning to kind of take this and push either one to like full on businesses? It's like, is that the plan for both of these? Or were you just like, hey, you know what? This was kind of a fun thing to do. Let's keep going with this kind of trajectory of creating new ideas. Was that something you were thinking about doing?
Yeah, so the business I was working on before, which is called Convi, is an AI video generation software.
Okay.
And that, like, I have a whole plan and vision for that. Like, that is intended to be like a full scale. Like, that I'm trying to make into a full scale business that can.
And you're the CEO of that.
Yeah. And then NeighborScore is like. NeighborScore, we just made like a couple weeks ago. So what's going to happen with NeighborScore? Like, does it have the potential to do that? That's kind of what I'm trying to see right now. What I'm doing right now is mostly meeting with people that are a lot smarter than me and are a lot more experienced than me to help me make the decision. Yeah. Because I'm young and I am not super experienced. So whenever I'm like, okay, this is a really high leverage decision point here, I just try to seek out people that have more years than me, have more reps under the bar that can say, listen, champ, what you gotta do this. This is a better direction.
So far, what's the consensus been like? What's the advice been?
So basically, what I've heard from a lot of from the mentors I've spoken with is that NeighborScore is a big. There's a lot. It's a complex idea, so there's a lot of things that need to happen for it to work. Right? You need to be able to aggregate the data. You need to be able to circumvent the housing laws and anti-discrimination laws, protected groups. You need to be able to execute on a lot of things. So there's a lot of risk with each of those things, right? But if it wins, like, it wins big, right? But you're gonna have to raise money, essentially, for something like NeighborScore, right? Versus this other company I'm working on, Convi, which is AI video generation. Me and my co-founder, we were able to build an MVP. Just basically from, which actually I'll be interested to get your guys'
I definitely want to hear
perspective on.
I didn't know this. I'm so excited.
Sure.
Yeah. From a user experience perspective and design
podcast, usability podcast. Let's go.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'll just quickly break down what it is. It's a software that allows you to take a single video of yourself, and then we take that video and then we use AI to personalize the words you said to be whatever you would like. So you could, for example, make one video saying, hey, John, I just wanted to talk to you about, your podcast. And then we can take that video and we can create 1,000 different versions where you said, hey, John, but maybe instead you said, hey, Larry, or you said, hey, David, or you said, hey, I want to talk to you about your company. I want to talk to you about your startup. So we can go in and actually edit the language and re-render the videos in such a way that it looks as if you said that thing. And people generally like to use them for, outbound prospecting or converting leads, because everyone likes to get a personalized.
What's it called again?
Video to them. Yeah, it's called Convi. CONVI.io.
I think I've seen this. I think I've seen it come across just the Boston startup scene. That's so wild.
There's a couple other companies that are doing similar.
No, Convi sounds
similar stuff, but yeah, Convi, it's conversion videos, really. Yeah, if you just go to convi.io, you can load up and check it out. You get a new website that'll be dropping tomorrow morning as well.
Oh, sick.
I probably need to get your guys' opinion on that too.
How did you come up with that idea? I mean, was it something that like you noticed that it was a need, or were you like, hey, I'd like to try this thing? I mean, this kind of is a question open-ended to like anything that you've come up with. Like, where do you get these ideas from?
So like for me, for Convi specifically, I had a friend who was running a cold email agency. So his job was he was, sending mass amounts of emails or mass amounts of cold messages, cold outbound, in order to get meetings booked with prospects, so that and then he would charge per meeting booked to his clients. And he was like, man, these videos convert so highly, but it's like just sucks to make them because you have to sit down and record like 50 videos, because when you're doing bulk outreach, you're doing it at a huge scale. And so from there he was like, okay, how can we make how can this problem be solved? And he was in that community of, he had paid for access to communities of other outreach, email agencies, and spoken to a lot of other people, and they all knew it was a problem, and that whoever could solve it would be able to provide a lot of value. And then he got started on that, and then asked me to come in as asked me to come in and run the marketing and sales side. Because really, as you were kind of saying when we were talking a little bit before the call, I'm less of a product-driven entrepreneur and more of a promotion-driven entrepreneur, at least at this stage in my life. And so I was brought in to help him with the promotion side, because he's a developer, and he was developing it and focusing fully on the product, and needed someone who could handle the promotional side.
Very cool.
Who's the product person?
Yeah, Daniel Holler. DANIEL HOLLER, Daniel Holler.
First name, last name, drop his Insta,
best
drop
guy.
everything.
I have so much love in this world for Daniel Holler. So my last two startups I founded with him, like last two businesses I founded with him, and Daniel's awesome. So I can give you guys a quick rundown of how I actually got into.
That would be great, actually. I mean, you might as well even start with the whole journey. Like, how did you? Well, first of all, let's ask where you are now. Like, are you in school? Were you like you know what? Hey, I studied life sciences, and I decided that, hey, you know what? Entrepreneurial thing is my jam.
Yeah. So, right now I'm out of school. I graduated in 2021.
Who knows what time it is?
When I was in school, I started I watched this television show called Undercover Billionaire, and the premise of the show was, I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It sounds like Undercover Boss, but it's a totally different show. They take billionaires and then they drop them in the middle of of the U.S. in a random town, and
I think I've heard this.
They have like 90 days to build $1 million business.
Yeah.
And so me and Daniel, we watched this show while we were in university, and we were like, this is crazy, because we were seeing these billionaires. They're there with like no money, like on their iPhone, trying to like find jobs, scrubbing toilets, doing whatever they can do to make things work, and making it work and building businesses. And we're like, this is so cool. Like, we can do this, because it demystified entrepreneurship for us. When you're first start out, you're like, I don't know if I can do this. Is this possible? Like, what does this look like? And then once we got in there and we got into, we were watching that show, we were like, okay, this is totally possible. We can do this. So we're like, okay, we're going to do this for 90 days and like, we'll be millionaires at the end. It's like,
exactly.
We're like, we're like 19 or 20, I think. We're like total idiots. And we're like, oh yeah, we'll make $1 million in 90 days. We actually like thought that as well. Like,
I love it. I really do.
I mean, if I could go back,
right?
That's how dumb I was. So, we ended up, Daniel could code, and I was like, I guess I can sell the things that you code. So we started a web design agency, and literally just go on Google Maps. I would find like all the businesses in the area, visit their websites, and then just pull out my phone and just dial and call and say like, hey, you guys want to buy a website? We'll build it. And that was how we got started. So in those like first 90 days, we didn't make $1 million, but we sold like I think like 10,000 pounds worth of websites, just through like simply like calling and showing up and copying the methods that they did in the show.
Oh yeah.
And and that's just to say that in the show, it was just like, okay, they would try to get in touch with someone, and then they would try to go to meet them in person, and then they would just try to like have some chit chat and then explain the value and then like try to sell them. And like, that was the full extent of like what we were doing. It was like, so like, do you want to buy this? And we ended up niching into home improvement. So the first company that we sold was a wood burning stove company. And so that sort of got us into heating and home improvement. And Daniel had also built some websites previously for a window installation company that did like New York style, like really nice New York style windows. And we built those guys quoting tools. So that kind of became our niche, was like websites with like a quoting tool on the website, so that you could get a price. You could input some stuff about your home and you could get a price immediately. So, you know, what are the dimensions of the window? How much is that going to cost? What is the type of wood burning stove we need? How much is that going to cost? And then we also signed the Edinburgh Boiler Company, which was a boiler heating, water heater installation company in Scotland, and sold them something similar, which was a quoting a website with a quoting widget.
Okay.
Basically, they already had a website. We were just building like that one quoting piece. So then we did that for like about a year, and we did like so much stupid stuff. So like we were like total bozos, like selling these websites and then building them and then hiring people off of like Upwork and like trying to find other people. Find other people in the university that would like do them with us. We leased an office in like the city center, so we paid like way too much money for like an office.
You guys jumped all in on this.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
This is all in Scotland.
Yeah.
And so like I can show you guys photos. We had like an office and like huge like PC
awesome.
monitors, and we're a real business.
Yeah.
We had we even had like so we called it Thurlestane Media, because Thurlestane was the name of the road we lived on, and we had like a sign with like our logo on it that was like we had like made. We paid like $200 to like get a sign made. You're like, oh, if there's no sign, like you're just not a real business,
right?
So,
John,
this is so awesome.
John,
I know.
John, what he said.
There it is. Yeah. So, all just like stuff that was just, looking back, it's like so silly, but it's like that's what happens when you're just 20 or however old we were at this time, like 2021, and just like trying to figure out like just the very fundamentals of business. Like when the reality is we should have been taking all the money and spending it on, either building out marketing or building out a team so that we can fulfill better, or, something that was actually going to increase our actual ability to provide the service instead of just like space, because, we bought an office and then it's like, now we're like spending all this time commuting to the office, and
now you got
like,
overhead. And...
now all this overhead, and it was just stupid. So we did that for like a year, and we ended up getting nominated for Small Business of the Year by the Edinburgh Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, so that was really cool, and that was a big turning point for us. Not necessarily a turning point, but that sort of legitimized us that, okay, we're actually able to. We didn't win, but we were finalists, and it was like, okay, we're actually like doing something right. We're actually able to, because in my opinion, a really big piece of entrepreneurship is beliefs.
Yeah.
What you believe about yourself.
And being recognized for those beliefs feels good.
Right.
100%. Well, it also helps you, when you start out, you're like, man, I can't do this. Like, I was a sociology and political science.
There we go. There's the.
There we go. That's what I was doing.
Find out what he was.
That's what I was doing at the time. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that just goes to show that anybody can do it. I mean, obviously, you having done it now, you've learned a lot of lessons and got the experience of it for the next one, obviously. I mean, I guess something like that, like how did it fall apart? It sounded like you guys were doing something right, at least for that first thing.
So that was going well, and we were making money doing that. But like we were stupid, so we didn't know like what a good business looked like or what we should be doing. So we got approached by the owner of EBC, the Edinburgh Boiler Company. Or actually, no, that's not true. We approached him because we wanted to build a software that just was a quoting tool. So we approached him. We were like, hey, we want to do like this HeatSoft thing, and we want to build, because we were custom building each tool, and we were like, it'd be pretty cool if we just had one that we could just sell to everyone and we could customize. So we proposed that to him to do this boiler quoting online widget, and his response was, well, right now what's happening in the UK is there's a lot of companies that are taking over, which are these sort of decentralized boiler installation companies. And essentially the way it works is you have like an app. It's like Uber, right? You have an app with a bunch of gas engineers or people who can do plumbing, right? Technically, gas engineers is the name. And then people will go online, they'll get the quote for the boiler online, and then they will purchase the boiler based on the quote, and then you, as the centralized entity, will ship all the materials to their home, and then you will contract in someone from the app to go show up and do the installation, and then you like essentially just install the boiler, and then you take that person will like wear your outfit or do whatever thing. So he said, why don't we just do that? Why don't we just own the whole process? Because he already had multiple locations going and knew how to run it, and was like, I want to do this, and like this is the people I'm competing with, but I don't have the technical side down.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, right.
Sounds like something. To tell you a little bit backstory, Henry, David and I are actually working on something on here in Boston, very similar, but instead of boilers, it's snow shoveling. So
okay, cool.
So similar idea. So we get it, but go ahead. You were at this point building it out or trying to build it out.
Yeah. So we end up doing this, and then we do that for like the next roughly a year, I think. So we sort of transitioned our like heating job management CRM software into this decentralized boiler installation company. So like we were in Scotland, but we ran the company in England. So like we literally ran it in a different country.
Yeah.
And we had a website with software, and we would run ads to get the for the heating systems, and then we would
what's it like quick question, what's it like it's like setting up a company like legally out in Scotland?
Oh yeah,
right, just Scotland itself. And then what was like, I don't know what if doing it, having a base in Scotland and working with England is any more.
So they're both the United Kingdom, so there wasn't really any problems there. Well, for now they are, but there was like, for that, basically you can just set up an entity really quickly. Like you can just go on, it's called the company's house. So all the data, a lot of the data is public over there. So there's like a big thing called the company's house where you can just go and you can register the company and get an LLC, or in the US it would be an LLC, but there it's called an LTD, limited company, set up very quickly. Like we would call it a limited liability, they would just call it a limited.
Is there anything like what we do over here where we're like, oh, my business is in Delaware, or like,
So not really.
Yeah, I don't think so.
From what we were doing. What we did do though was go through a lengthy, not lengthy, but we went through a whole process with lawyers where we sat down and we had to, write up, articles of association and a bunch of basically agreements on what would happen with the company, because we co-founded this with Mark Glasgow, who is the owner of the Edinburgh boiler company. So he, was going to give us, we were going to use his expertise and he would let us use his resources to build this. So we had to get together with him and, determine all these rules and laws of how things were going to operate within the business.
Yeah.
And that was also just like an awesome experience to have, because I had never done any, I did mock trial in high school, but I had never gone through like a whole like procedure like that. So that was just a great experience to have, like at a young age, of getting to see how all that.
Signing on the dot feels good, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just like, also it forced you to have hard conversations. It's like, okay, well, what's gonna happen if like we don't like each other?
Yeah. So you're in college still at this point, right?
At this point I'm in school.
Yeah. So you're dealing with big businesses. You're talking to founders and CEOs and lawyers and all this tax stuff as a college student.
Yeah, and then I'm writing like sociology essays at night, and I'm like doing that stuff. Yeah. It's important to remember that this is during COVID, a lot of this. So part of the way I was able to do this was because I had my classes were like, pretty much all online. Trying to just not go. And the UK has a lot less day-to-day schoolwork than the US does. My degree was a pretty light workload. So I was like doing all this in school with Daniel. Daniel's also doing this in school, but Daniel's like comp sci, so he like actually had a lot more work lot more work to do. So he was like flat out. So once we get to this point where we're with the boiler company and we're deciding that we're going to do this like basically tech startup, that's when I approached the university and I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to I don't want to do this anymore. I want to drop out.
Yeah.
And they're like, Henry, you don't need to drop out. You've already completed enough credits to get a degree.
That's so
really?
funny.
Yeah, because I was on an accelerated master's track. So I was trying to get a dual master's in 4 years. They're like, it's been 3 years. You can just get a bachelor's. So I was like, okay, my parents would be way happier with that.
Yeah.
My parents would be way happier with that. So I did that. I did a kind of weird graduate early thing that you're not really supposed to do. I ended up graduating in winter as well. So I graduated in like November, and like everyone else graduated another time.
What the hell?
It was super weird. Yeah.
November of all that. Okay, sure.
I was like, this is heating season. This is cold. It's cold tonight. So
yeah.
I don't want to be graduating. So but like my parents flew over everything. So then for like the next year we do it was called the Local Boiler Company Group, LBG or LBC group. And the idea was we had set up basically what looked like a local boiler company in each area, but was actually part of this decentralized group of boiler companies. But we only ever did one location, so like we could have just called it like the Leeds Boiler Company, because that's what it was.
Wait. So let me get this straight. You are sort of like an offshoot from this one boiler company who has like contracted you guys out to do this thing, to build this feature.
Yep.
And then this entire time you're in school, you're building this thing out. You're like doing the work of like, I don't know, researching, paperwork, all this red tape.
Yep.
And then you decide to finish your schooling. You've done that, and then now you're like, okay, it's live. We're good to go. And you sell one job.
Well, sorry.
You sell one job. You said.
No, we have one location. One location. Yeah. So we had it was just operating in Leeds, because like we called it the Local Boiler Company Group because the idea is it would be a group of companies, but like we only ever did one location, so we could have just called it like the Leeds Boiler Company.
Right.
That's where it was. So once we got out of school, then there was a bunch of stuff we had to go through to like even run this company. So like we had to get approval from authorities, because like you're working with gas, and we got flown down. So Worcester Bosch, they're like I think the largest boiler manufacturer in the world. They flew us down to their factory to like tour their factory and negotiate support contracts and like what was going to go down. Yeah. So we were like traveling and doing stuff and figuring it out. And we ran that company for like, we were actually doing installs for I think like 6 months. And ultimately the conclusion we came to was that, so like it was working and it was starting to become profitable. But the reality was that like the business model was just not, it's a tough business to run, a network effect business. I'm sure you guys know, like it's really hard to get enough people and then keep things running smoothly. And it's difficult to do it without raising capital.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask, was everything up to this point being financed from Glasgow was his name?
Glasgow, yeah, Mark Glasgow. So he gave us some money, and we brought some money as well from Earl State Media.
Yeah.
Nice. And he also gave us office space. He had a spare office space he gave us, and he gave us he was really generous to us. Awesome. He gave us access to his sales team. So his sales team would his engineers would jump on the calls with our clients and take care of that for us. So he gave us some money, we put in some money, and then he also gave us just a lot of resources and was able to expedite a lot of things for us, give us access to special pricing. So we had a lot of advantages from just having him on board. But ultimately, it was really two things why we stopped. And one was that Daniel and I didn't want to be in Scotland. And we were like, okay, we're kind of not in school anymore.
Yeah.
And we're kind of figured out, like, we know how to make money now. Like, we can just go anywhere. And
90 days. It's so easy.
Make money. Yeah. Like, we know how to do this. And, like, we kind of don't want to be, like, in this country. And the longer we spend in this business, the more the deeper and deeper we're getting entrenched into this enterprise that's based in a country that, like, we don't want to live in long term. So, like, and it might be, like, 3 to 5 years before we get this to the place where, like, we would want it to be in order to, like, properly, like, have an exit, or like properly, like, do the whole entrepreneurship thing you do where you, like, get a ton of money and then you, like, drive a Ferrari.
Sell, right? Okay.
So it was that, and then
It's a tale as old as time. You get VC money and then you get a Ferrari.
Right. And so basically at this point we sat down with Mark and we are like, this is a situation, like we don't want to do this anymore, and this is, you know, what we think should happen. So there was basically, the company got kind of disassembled in a bunch of different ways. We exited the business. Daniel and I went to the US, and yeah, I'm not sure like to what degree they're still using some of the components we built. Like they had 4 locations, maybe more, running, like using the sales systems that like we built. So like a lot of the stuff that we built is still getting used, but it just wasn't getting used through the entity that we owned. So came back to the US. Dane and I were in the US, and then he went to go do this kind of email agency thing that he was like interested in and wanting to get his hands on. And I did. I'm a big. Do you guys know Alex Hormozy?
I don't.
No.
He's a business guy, but I'm a big fan of his, and I've read all his books. And one of the things he did when he was younger, he would go to brick and mortar businesses and he would do this deal with them where he would run marketing campaigns to get people to show up at the business, and then he would sit at the business, like sit at the front desk and like sell people, like sell them the programs or sell them the service like when they walked in. And that was like so appealing to me. Like you just go to businesses. So then I took a couple months and I did that. So I would go to gyms and I would and I just basically copied what he did, where I would go in, I would like run all these ads, get people to show up at the gyms, and then I would sit down and do the consultations and sell them the programs, and then keep all the cash up front. And that was like, if you have sales skills and you want to make some money, that was like a fantastic way to make money. But I wasn't building a business, which was what I wanted to do. And then it was around this time that Daniel he went back to Scotland because he had visa problems, as one does. But he'll be coming back to the US soon. And then it was after this that he told me to come in and do Combi with him, because he was like, this is a winning product. And and that's where we are now, which is that we sold Combi to a bunch of companies, and we're coming out with a new version of it in a couple months that will be really very realistic and will really be a big step up for the software. And we've just had like 3-4 companies every day emailing us and applying to be on our wait list. So we just have like a wait list of like 40 companies now. So that's awesome. That's where I'm at in my entrepreneurial journey. Does that make sense?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. And we're caught up now.
Yeah. And hearing that, and just like I've been looking at Comvi, I looked at the website and everything like that. I would 100%, as somebody that worked with you on NeighborScore, tell you to push Comvi to Techstars and that's the banner you should be running. I love NeighborScore. When we were, and the Saturday that we were working, that we were like really discussing on like how this is going to function, like the logistics of it. There's so many hoops that we had to run through just to like have it make sense. Like what sold me is getting the feedback from the actual people on the ground in the neighborhood, and just doing that, like logistically, just getting them to give us their feedback would have been such a hurdle. But you are correct.
Yeah, it's tough.
If we get it, if we hit that nail, it's a home run, right? Or if we hit that ball, it's a home run. But that's a hard one. Combi sounds awesome. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love the team. Sometime after the show, I love to get your opinion on the design aspect of it and the usability.
Definitely be willing to offer that up. But yeah, so basically, it sounds like you kind of just. Honestly, it sounds like you were an entrepreneur the whole time and you just didn't realize it. Right? Like you were just doing. You saw it from like a sales point of view, but you were just doing the entrepreneurial stuff, and then you're like, at this point, I assume you were like, oh, this is what I do. This is what I can, like, I'm at. And then, so you have Convi going, and then you move you decide to go do a hackathon and say, hey, let's try something else. You were like, let's keep this ball going.
So Danny and I, we like took a trip to Australia for like a month. Like after he went back to Scotland, like a month or two went by, and then we took a trip to Australia. And that was where we discussed like me coming in like as like the person to run the sales and marketing. And that was where we like discussed that, and we're coming to that conclusion. When I got back to the US, it was like I had been there for a couple days. I had the offer from Daniel, and I was still deciding, okay, what is this decision going to look like? And basically doing the same thing I was doing with NeighborScore, which is talking to people smarter than me, talking with mentors. And yeah, I got back and literally my brother's like, hey, you're back from Australia, come over for dinner. He lives in Cambridge. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. And then I got a text from, you guys know Jonathan Chang?
John's mentioned him. You mentioned that that's the guy that's been like hounded by all these people when he goes to startup events.
No, that's David Chang. Yeah.
I think Vivek mentioned him on the last podcast, but he runs he runs a company called Market Social.
Yeah.
He does
the text messages. Yeah.
He sends out a text every week that's like all these events.
Yep.
And I got a text and it was said there's an event called like How to Win Techstars Startup Weekend, and it was like at 5 p.m. My dinner with my brother was at 6, so I was like, going early and go to this.
Sick.
Just like, why not?
Serendipity, yeah.
Yeah, and that was where I met Marsh, and I met Vivek, and I met NU, and I met and that was basically just where like I learned what the actual thing was. I learned what the event was, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll do this.
Super spontaneous.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And so that means, last one. That means you came up with that stuff like on the spot. You were like, hey, let's. This is the idea that I have.
NeighborScore?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess the competition started like what 6?
Yeah.
I was like looking at my watch like 3, and I was like, oh, I need like an idea for like this competition. So.
You know how many people would love to be in that shoe and then actually make something that succeeds? Like everybody's like, oh, I want to do the next thing. Like nobody has any ideas.
Yeah.
Nobody has like ideas that would hit. And you came up with something in 3 hours.
Here's the thing though. Like I have done a couple businesses so far. So I kind of had an idea of what would work. And there's also a lot of criteria I think of when I look at business ideas for how I can like you can learn a lot of stuff from reading books and from watching YouTube and going to classes. But the reality is that until you actually run the business, it's not going to get like totally burned into your memory of like, these are the things that need to be in the business. Because when I don't have them, like everything sucks. Right. Yeah. So it's things like, okay, like there has to be high margins. There has to be continuity, like recurring revenue to the product. You know, there has to be a like unique advantage. There has to be all these things. And so what I did is I got on a call with Daniel. I was like, Daniel, like I had to come up with $1 billion idea, like in the next like 20 minutes. I was like, I have 3 hours, but ideally you can do this in 20 minutes and bang this thing out. And so he was like, okay, cool. So like open ChatGPT. I'm just like, give me, an idea to win Techstars Startup Weekend. And it's like,
I love it.
Gives me like 20 ideas. And I'm like, these suck. So I'm like, boom, another 20, boom, another 20, boom, another 20. And then I'm just like, okay, a couple of these are okay. And I just made a little list of like 5. And then of those, one was like something kind of approximating NeighborScore. I was like, this one has legs to it. We can kind of work with this one. And then I fleshed it out, and then that was what I pitched.
Yeah.
But like that, I came up with all that like hours before the
competition.
Also,
there was a pain point that was like you were going through as well, as like you're moving to Boston recently, or you said you were looking for an apartment or something like that, and like this is something that you would look for in your own like experience, right? Like like, well, that's one of the criteria I'm thinking about as I'm going through the ideas is like, which of these would I actually buy? Right. But I didn't actually like, when I say like, oh, this idea is dear to me because like I hate my neighbor. Like I love my neighbors. Like, my neighbors are the best. Like I love my neighbors. But like, that's just funny for the pitch because it gets people. It gets you to stand out from the. Yeah, I chose to work on your team you were fantastic pitching. There was another person, the guy that had the treasure hunt or the scavenger hunt. Like he did, he did really well.
Ryan.
Yep. Come to find out, he does these a lot. Like he just does a lot of hackathons and. Like...
Yeah, he said it's like his 7th one. I talked to him. He's like, I do this every year. I was like,
yeah. Like this is just his pastime. He was really good at pitching. You were fantastic. And yeah, it was. You sold it to me and I bought it. So it was definitely good.
I appreciate you being on the team because like. Yeah, I could not have done it alone at all. Like, I really was just very blessed and very lucky to have people that were interested in be able to have an idea that resonated, and also to have people that were interested in have good people that approach me. Because at the end of the day, like, it can be 1 or 2 people that make or break the whole the whole competition. Especially with something in such a tight time frame like this.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, I was super impressed with what you did with the team as far as like getting sales going. Like you guys actually got 4 people to buy in. Yeah, all the data that you guys kind of got and pulled together into that pitch deck was phenomenal. And I do feel
that was
no, I just said I do feel bad that Johnny didn't get to show his site.
100%.
Oh yeah, we're cramped for time, and prototype was a little shinier looking, and it got the point across.
Yeah, we had very few. When you're dealing with like such a short time frame,
5 minutes.
Not only 2 days but also 5 minutes to present everything from the 2 days. It was a shame that Johnny wasn't able to present his working prototype. But at the end of the day, it was important to have as well, because during the Q&A we had that as well as objection overcome. They said, well, how do you know this is really possible?
Yep, that's true.
So it did provide value to us. That's the way that the cookie crumbles with these things. It's really hard to actually build a working product. And it's the same thing. Part of the reason I was glad you touched on the sales you made, because part of the reason that I chose that idea specifically was because I wanted something with a clientele or customer base that was going to be reachable on weekends. Because how are we going to sell it? When I went to the kind of pre I don't know what to call it, the pre
it's like an introduction
pre-game the introduction meeting. Marsh said the company that gets the most traction, that's gonna be the main thing the judges are looking for. So I was like, okay, I need something that people are gonna actually.
He said that when he came into our room, we were at the finish line Sunday. He's like, get customers now. He's like,
well, I was thinking when he said traction, I was thinking people giving us their emails and saying that they want to buy, because we got like money something emails, and then he's like, no, you need sales. And I was like, because I was like, I don't even know how I'm gonna get, if you're doing an ed tech, how are you even gonna get a school to respond to a survey on a weekend? It's really difficult to do. So I was like, well, who works during weekends?
Right. So you know what? Here's what I want to ask actually. Given that this is how your mind works, it sounds like you already just going entrepreneurial stuff. You've got Convi, you've got this new NeighborScore that you might be pushing. If you didn't have these two running, and given your history, would you be like, oh, hey, you know what? Let's try to come up with something. Would you be thinking that right now, just to for fun, or is it like, hey, I need to build a business?
Do you have the entrepreneurial itch so much that this is who you are?
So here's the thing. If I don't like to innovate. I'll just say that right now. I don't like it. If I could just copy paste all the steps that already exist and build an awesome business doing that, that's much more appealing to me, right? Because innovation it's expensive, it's risky, it's difficult to do. So the whole culture of let's come up with new ideas and try to do new things. I see that, and as a business owner, my thought process is let's just do the things that already work as much as possible.
Lyft is doing great. I don't know if anybody knows, but
well, exactly. How many, thousands upon hundreds of thousands of businesses are there in the United States that don't do any innovation at all? They just do a good job at the things that they already do, and they make a lot of money. You can become a multi-millionaire very quickly doing no innovation at all. You can just copy paste the exact same things. And I'm not saying that to be pessimistic, but that's how the market works, and that in a lot of ways is awesome, because it means that hey, I can have a guarantee that this is going to work. And so for me, the whole concept of coming up with the idea of what's going to be the next big thing, it's much more attractive to me to do a business model that already is tried and true and is working, that I know that I can get it off the ground. I know I can scale it. I know I can get cash flow. And then once you have money, you have cash flow, then you can get fun, with it. You can try new stuff and you can figure things out. But I generally wouldn't try to start. I'm not a fan of trying to start an innovational business as your first business, particularly if, I much prefer standard businesses that are tried and true and they know they work. If I wasn't doing this, I would probably try to do an insurance company. Like I love insurance companies.
Never heard that
no
said
one. Said nobody.
Because they're boring. They make a lot of money. There's a lot of them. Like they're the most. I think there's a good argument to be made that they're some of the most successful financial institutions in the world, right? It's like insurance companies and banks. It's like that's boring. I don't want to start an insurance company. It's like, well, do you want to be rich or do you want to do something that's exciting? Because it's really hard to. You can do both, but it's. Yeah, it's and that's I guess I'd say that's my concept. I'm not fair. Like constantly ideating.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's definitely a new perspective that I've never heard. I mean, most people don't see the inner workings of any typical entrepreneur. So like the idea that you have to just build on something that exists is foreign to most people. And then the second thing that I'm thinking about it is like, how do you face the pessimism for that, right? If you're saying, oh, I'm going to redesign Lyft, I'm going to redesign DoorDash, who are already successful, and you have your own skill set, and you say, I can do this better. How do you face some people who give those kind of criticisms, and how do you like know that you're gonna make it?
So, well, you're talking about like in face of competition, or just like in general, just because like the stats are so bad.
If you're all right, so for example, like you said, you're gonna do some insurance company, you're gonna start an insurance company. Oh, there's already so many insurance companies out there. So why do you think you'll be better, or how do you feel like you're good enough that this will be the direction you want to take?
So I have a buddy who opened a burger restaurant in Scotland, and they now have I think 6 locations. They're doing really well. He's incorporated into like a food service group, and they're opening up more locations. And really, they do burgers and fries, and they do them really well. And yet, McDonald's exists. Like Burger King exists. Like these giants exist that have been doing it for decades and decades. But there's something to be said for doing something really well. And I'm
sure there's some unique selling props of it, like the decor in the restaurant might be unique. There's still points of innovating, like but yeah, it's
well, there's certain businesses where you can just you can get monopoly just through a local monopoly, right? So like all brick and mortars, like you can just get a local monopoly just through. Like if you put an insurance agency in an area, like that, it's in that area, so there's only going to be however many in that place. So you just get a monopoly by default because you're just competing with the other brick and mortars there, right? For foot traffic and things like that. But I do also think that uniqueness is often overhyped, like particularly in the startup world, like because there's the market's big. They talk about like the size of the pie fallacy. People like to think there's, well, if we're doing this and there's another company doing this, then like those two companies are going to compete against each other and all the profit's going to go away. It's like, yeah, that's true on a macro level. But the reality is that like the markets are so unbelievably big and information travels very inefficiently that like you can have a lot of big businesses that exist that really just should not exist at all. But they can based off of purely the fact that there's informational imbalance. Now, I'm not saying you should build your business off of that, but I'm saying that if you can do a really nice job in the thing that you're doing, even if you're not, like if you can run an insurance company and you can run it well and you can just have service with a smile and do the basics that a lot of people don't do, there will be a place for you in the market because most people don't. That's the simple reality of businesses. That most small businesses don't do the basics that it takes to get high margins, get a low turn, and build a scalable enterprise.
Nice. Good to know. All right, John. The major takeaway that we have is build a sign. We need a sign.
We need a sign.
We
need a logo. Yeah.
I can't wait to just like throw up a huge banner right here.
Yeah.
Badass banner behind yours.
That's one of those things. Everyone wants to get like t-shirts printed.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a t-shirt. We got a hoodie. We got a,
the hat.
And like, that's fine. I get it, but it doesn't drive revenue.
Yeah. Switching gears. So like, you're a serial entrepreneur. It sounds like it definitely is. You're heading like sales. You're kind of spearheading operational stuff while Daniel's doing a lot of the product and dev stuff.
Yep.
What's your experience and your outlook on product design as a non-design founder?
So yeah, it's an interesting question, right? Because for me, like when I'm looking at the product, I'm looking at a lot of inputs, outputs, right? I'm looking at like, okay, how many people are using it, how much money are they paying, and how long are they staying to pay that amount of money. Right. And then versus I think you guys are probably looking at a lot more of the intangible aspects of the product as well, in terms of, okay, how are people's experience while they're using it? How are things that are actually creating a product that people delight your customers. And for me, like, I think actually less about a product or a service, and I think more about an offer. So when you have an offer, you're offering to solve a problem.
Yep.
Right? You have this painful problem, I have this solution. And there's a lot of elements that go into an offer that actually don't have anything to do with the product itself. So, for example, if I have I have a service I'm going to sell. Let's say I'm at a gym. I'm selling a gym membership, right? And I have the exact same gym membership, and one has a money back guarantee and the other one doesn't, right? Now I just made that offering more valuable, but I didn't change anything about the product or the service delivery.
That's fair.
Does that make sense? Right. Or if I were to, for example, have a gym like Equinox, which is like a huge, super popular brand, versus like the local, Johnny's Fitness, Equinox is going to be able to sell it for more because they have a brand. So they have a perception associated, even though the service they're giving you is probably the same exact service, right? So like now we have like a guarantee and we have a brand, right? And then now you've actually massively augmented the price of the product, right? And also the value, like you augmented the perceived value, even though the actual product itself has not changed. Yeah. The service itself is exactly the same, right? And then there's also a lot of ways you can wrap and target a product. So like with Convi, right? Like you're creating personalized videos at scale, but who is this for? Is this something that is for follow-ups to get more people to show at your meetings, right? So it's an uplifting show rates. Is this a product that is going to be used for outreach? So it's more meetings booked, and then you're going to pay per meetings booked. Is this a product where we just say you pay us a monthly fee, and then you just do whatever you want with the videos? Like we don't really care, right? Or are we targeting like, is this for insurance companies, right? So you can really, the riches are in the niches. You can really improve the price of a product or the value of a product simply by niching it down to a specific consumer. So like if I'm selling a fitness program and I say, okay, this is for single moms. It's made specifically for you. It's exercises specifically for you. There's going to be other single moms in your classes with you. Like this is who this is for, right? And I can make a couple small augmentations of the product. For example, adding recipes you can cook that, involve cooking for your kids as well, cooking for one with kids or something like that. Like the value of that product to its target customer just skyrocketed, even though the actual service delivery is essentially the same as the service delivery as like a normal fitness class, right? But now it's like, oh, this is made for my exact problem. So me as an avatar, me as an individual, it's far more valuable, right? And also just like network effect, just having people of the same type using a product, using a class, or being in literally just a Slack group that is to do with a single service, it adds a ton of value as well because people will pay for access to that group. So when I think about a product, like I think about a lot of the intangibles of the actual offer, right? Because you can have a great product with a garbage offer. And you can have a kind of garbage product with a great offer, right? If I come to you and I'm a marketing agency and I say, look, pay me $1,000, if, I'm going to try to get 20 people to show up at your business. If they don't show up, you're going to get your money back. I've done this 10,000 times. So like, I really know what I'm doing. And like, I'm going to deliver the service, this week. That's much more appealing versus a person that says like, pay me $1,000. I'm going to get 20 people to show up at your business. That's the offer. Like, there's no guarantee. It's like, well, what if it doesn't work? It's like, doesn't work. I've not done it before. It's my first time. Like, I'll take a month to do it. like, so there's a lot of ways you can augment the offer, the intangibles around the product to play with the price and therefore the profits that don't actually have to do with the product itself. So that's a lot of what I focus on when I look at product or service delivery.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we do, basically. If you think about, why we're valuable is because of the things that you don't put numbers to, the visuals, how fast you can complete tasks, how easily it is to onboard, things like that.
Reducing churn.
Exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
And like, Bernard Arnault is the richest person on earth right now, right? He passed Elon Musk a couple months ago. and he's the guy who owns LVMH. If you guys are familiar, Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. It's all the luxury brands. So all the luxury alcohol, all the luxury clothing brands, and he's able to charge, right? He's working with like a Veblen good, right? So like when the price goes up, the associated status with the item goes up, so like the value goes up. So like it's an overpowered model. Like it's no wonder he's the richest guy. Like he's using hacks. But like that to me is like an example of someone who has a great product, right? They have luxury clothes, but they're able to charge an outsized price because they make a crazy offer, even though the actual product is not changed that much.
Yeah.
So that's what I look at. I also look at, like, I have a product or a service offering. I look at, okay, who am I going to sell this to, right? They need to, number one, be in pain, right? Otherwise, they're not going to buy.
Yeah.
They need to be, right? Because like people buy things when they're in pain.
Yep.
They need to be, even if that pain point is being super rich and their friends think they're a loser because they don't have a Lamborghini or whatever, like that's still a pain point.
Yeah, right.
So they need to be in pain. They need to have money to buy it, which is a big one. So like a lot of people solve problems. This is something I see a lot particularly in universities, which is that people are students. Yeah. So like they're students, they have a lot of free time, they want to do business, they want to make some money. So they're like, I'll solve problems for other students because I am one, so I know what the problems are.
Yes.
The problem is students are broke.
Can't afford
they don't want to sell to students. So like they have a lot of pain, but not a lot of money. So they're not really a great ideal customer to sell to, right? So they need to have money. This brings me back to a story I heard about in a podcast. A guy who created a really awesome resume writing service that like it had really helped people get jobs at higher rates, and like it was super effective. The problem is no one could buy it because it was all unemployed people that they're marketing to. So it's like, hey, have no job, spend some money. It's like, yeah, not a great idea. So right, so they need to be in pain. They need to have money. Right? They need to be easy to target. So if like I can't target them, like let's say I want to target like old lonely people for my dating app for old people, something like that. Like I need a way to get in touch with them, right? They're maybe not online so much. Like I need to actually be able to target those specific people. And if I can't effectively market towards them, that makes it really tough. When we were doing HeatSoft, every single gas engineer in the UK is on a massive list. So you can literally scrape that list and get the contact information of every heating engineer. So when we're like, we're going to market this, we're like, these guys are really easy to target. We can just scrape all their exact data, and then we can literally create an audience in Facebook and run ads directly to them. So targetable. And then the last thing, you look for is growth, or at least just a normal market. The classic example of like, if you find a way to like, make radio stations more profitable, like you'll have a great run for like 3 years until like people stop listening to them, right?
Yeah.
Taken up by Spotify and stuff. So you need a market that's also going to be to some degree growing. So it's like pain, money, targetable, growing. Like those are the 4 things I look for. And then if I have a product or service, there might be like 100 different types of buyers for that product or service that have varying levels of those things. So like I might have, like if I target a resume writing service towards people that are unemployed, like it's the exact same product or service, right? But like these guys don't have money. But if I target it towards like, CEOs that are looking to like, do be a CEO of another company, right?
Yeah.
Then like now all of a sudden I have the exact same product or service, but I'm marketing it towards someone who has way more money. Even if it's less pain, I can still sell it for more money because they just have more. So it's relative. It's more pain relative to the amount of money.
Right.
Yeah. So those are like the pieces I look at when I'm targeting for a product. So there's a lot of different ways you can target the same offer, but towards a different audience, right? It's the classic example of like, a customer is worth a different amount to every business.
Yeah.
So like, I have a gym, for example, that retains people on membership for 24 months versus a gym that retains people on membership for 12 months. And if everything else about the gym is the same, then the profit per customer is double for one gym what it is for the other, even if all the operations and margins, everything's identical. So when I go to market for them, I go to one gym and I'm like, this is $100 per customer. They're like, no, thanks. I go to the other one. I say $100 per customer. They're like, yeah, easy peasy. Well, it'll be profitable for us. So you can do the exact same service, but who the customer is makes it more valuable, not who the business is, not who I am. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. That's it.
Great.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question as far as like what your perspective for product as a like CEO, as a salesperson. So like, kind of want you to spill the tea. Like, 'cause I'm curious. What are some like of the friction areas you've experienced? Like, and I know Daniel's like your best friend. Like, like what friction areas have you experienced working with like engineers and product people that from your perspective just, you know, didn't jive well, or like do you have like business needs that like you're like, this makes sense to me, they're telling me no,
100%.
and like
So yeah.
Yeah, just curious about like those experiences and like
So-
how do you get it, like how do you as a business person like internalize and like deal with that and express yourself and express your needs, but also sometimes understanding that they are professionals and they understand what they're doing too.
Yeah, 100%. So like with product people, you know, for me, a lot of it comes down to just like I need to have people that I can trust in charge of product because like I don't know what's going on. Particularly with Convi, like Daniel's like, oh yeah, we're training the vocoder and the, you know, AI, whatever, like crazy model stuff that like I have no idea how it works. So I'm like, look, like I have a rudimentary idea of how it works, but if there's a problem, I need to just be like, okay, you need to explain to me like what is happening. Like I'm a little kid because, you know, I need to just be able to understand on some level what's going on so that I can explain it to other people, right? Because I need to communicate with the customers. They say, well, I'm having this problem. I say, okay, we know why that's happening. It's because of this. You fix it. But yeah, a lot of it comes down to having someone that I really trust on the product side because you know, I've worked with people that are good for product and worked with people that are not so good for product. And the people that are not good for product, I have no clue until like it's been like 6 months. And I'm like,
oh, not great.
Because like I can't tell.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can figure some stuff out, but you know, people who really understand product. So I have Daniel, and then if I have other people that I want to work with, I'll go and I'll talk to Daniel. Like Daniel, you gotta talk to this guy for me and figure out if it's actually, you know, real. If we're talking real talk here, or if this is just like whatever pie in the sky stuff. In terms of like what I look for in the product is like it's difficult, right? Because a lot of times technical people, they want to talk about the technical aspects of what's going on. Say like, okay, so like this is, you know, how things are working. But really from the sales and promotion side, it's like really just care about like features and like deadlines. Like it's always like, you know, when you're talking with devs, it's like, okay, well, we're doing this. It's like, yeah, I just need to know like
when,
like I just need to know when, because like I'm not gonna do anything to fix it, and you know, I just need to plan this out so that when I sell it, I'm gonna sell it for like this date. Like I'm gonna pre-sell it for this date. I just need to know that it'll be done like sometime before then or on then, so that I can
QA it and everything.
Yeah. And and so like that's another big piece of it is because they'll be like, well, I can't give you any time because like I don't want to give you the wrong time. And it's like, well, look, I just need an order of magnitude. Like I just need to know like hours, days, months, years. Like I just need to know one of those four because you could literally say like I don't know how much time it's gonna take, and that could mean like 2 months, or that could mean like it might be end of the day tomorrow instead of morning. So like that's usually what I try to get is like if you can give me an order of magnitude, then like that's fine enough for me so that I can begin to plan things around that. But for the most part, really at the end of the day, it comes down to trusting the people that you work with, or at least having someone who you trust that you can use to vet other people for you.
Right.
And it's the same thing for Daniel on the promotion side. He's like, okay, this guy wants to do sales for me, but like I don't know like if he's actually good or like what his numbers look like. Like he said he like missed his quota, but like is that normal, or like does that mean that he's garbage, or like what does that mean? So yeah, a lot of it comes down to trust because at the end of the day, like you can't do this. You can't do this alone.
Yeah. And they do say like picking your founder is as hard, if not harder, than finding your spouse, right? Like finding someone you get married with, right? Because
it's a marriage.
It's
absolutely a financial contract.
And emotions get involved, right? Because again, if you want to go one direction and they want to go the other, it's a battle, and usually they who holds the most shares kind of wins that battle. But
100%. And it's also the case that it's how most startups fail. Most businesses fail due to interpersonal problems. Far more than any of the
it's
business problems. It's like that's hard enough.
It's relationships in one of two degrees: relationships within the company itself, or relationships with your investors, or like people, the stakeholders that want to impose their views or whatnot. Those are the two biggest factors in a failing business or failing startup.
100%.
Yeah, relationships. Yeah,
and it's also like people will, like, finding a good co-founder, like, that takes a lot of time and effort, but it's one of those measured twice, cut once type of thing.
Yep,
it's not something where you're gonna be like, yeah, we both like, oh, and here's the other big mistake people make is that it's like, yeah, we both like to do this thing. Like, we're both good at this. So, like, we'll do this company together. And it's like, no, because then there just needs to be one of you, right? It's like, that's the classic. It was like, we're both great at sales. So, like, we'll start this business because, like, we just like selling all the time. It's like, yeah, you could have had double the money if you just did, you know, this one thing. Yeah. Right. So, it's also really important that you don't have overlapping skills. The one skill you should both overlap in massively is communication, though.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, John, we have to fight it out. Yeah. One of us has to go.
With 2 designers.
Yeah.
Night fight.
We literally like fully overlapped.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I have a question about, like, so throughout your career, I think one thing that is also an ingredient for success is mentorship and just finding people you can rely on, like you're saying, right? Like, you might not know the answer to something or to be able to vet something, but to be able to rely on somebody else's, professional opinion is the differentiating factor. What kind of circumstances and how did the fostering of those relationships go when, you come across good mentors that kind of helped you throughout your career?
So mentorship has been, like, it's one of the most important things.
Yeah.
It's one of the only things that will actually, like, 10x your results for the same amount of time. And if you can combine mentorship with also having, like, a partner that you're, like, really close with, that's, like, a really good key to success. Because in business, oftentimes, when you look at, like, the enterprise value of business, right, they take 2 numbers. One is, like, the amount of profit they're making. The second is, like, how long they think they're going to keep making that profit. Like, what's the multiple? And so when you look at that, it's like, oh, it's not just what you're doing, it's also the durability, right? And so having a partner, having a co-founder, it maybe will reduce the amount of money you get, but the durability of the business is what makes it valuable, right? Far more than the actual amount of money. And if the business goes, like, disappears, you get nothing, right? So it's like, well, do you want to have, a 90% chance of $1 million or, like, a 10% chance of, like, $5 million type question. So yeah, durability is important, and mentorship gives you that. And partnerships and mentorship give you that. So for me, finding mentors, I'm just extremely aggressive with outreach. So, like, I will literally go and I'll find people that, like, do TED Talks, and they give speeches or write blogs, and I will spam them with videos, like literal videos of me in my room in, like, my tank top. And I'm just like, listen, man, like, you gotta listen to me. Like, awesome. I need your help. People love it. So, like, well, some people hate it, but some people love it.
Yeah.
And I do really creative outreach methods. I got in touch with a really awesome SaaS founder who I try to look for people who have a lot of times, like, just stepped down from their company or just sold their company, just had an exit, because a lot of times, like, they have a lot of free time and they're also a lot of money. They used to be really good. Or not, they still are really good, but they used to be really busy and like, they were just in it. So now it's like, okay, now you're, like, a person who actually might meet with me and you're looking to give back. No, I spoke with a SaaS founder a couple months ago who I really admired his company, an awesome guy. And he had given some talks at some conferences that I thought were just awesome. And so I, like, did some snooping on him, and I found his online dating profile and his personal email. So I sent him an email and I was like, hey, like, I just read your dating profile. Like, I think you're so cool. Like, we should get coffee. And then And then let's not. In the actual, like, in the body of the thing, I just put, like, oh, but, like, probably no sparks will fly because, like, I'm a heterosexual. Like, male.
And then zoom the link to your x.com.
And then
exactly.
Picture.
I hooked him in. Yeah, and then of course at the bottom I put a link.
Him. Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I used that. I gave him the right hook, and then I put at the bottom of the video, like, a link to a loom of me just being like, "What's up, man? Like, this is what's going on. Like, I think you're so cool. Awesome. Like, I want to buy you coffee." And and then he was like, "This is, like, hilarious. Like, do this." And so really, at the end of the day, it just comes down to, like, breaking the mold to get in touch with mentors. Also, people are surprised how, number one, how far up you can reach in terms of mentorship, like, the people who are actually willing to mentor you and talk to you. And number two, like, how actually useful it is, because 99% of decisions don't matter. That's the fundamental reality, right? Like most stuff we do on a day-to-day basis, like it doesn't really matter. It's like 1% of decisions that actually matter. So when you have that 1%, that's when you're like, okay, I'm going to allocate like a lot of time to figuring this out because this is going to actually matter a lot. At least that's how I think things through, and that's been effective for me. When I have mentors, I have a series of questions I ask them as well, or like when I first meet them. So, there's a bunch of stuff I ask, but the two that are really like high value that you need to know is one is you always ask them who else you can talk to because. Duh, freebie. Like you already got in touch with like a billionaire or something. Like ask him if he knows anything else. And two is what's the question that I should have asked you, or I should be asking you?
Yeah, I've heard that one before. Yeah.
So like I had a talk a couple months ago with a investor who like invests, like, big VC guy. I won't say his name, but I was talking to him and I talked to him for like an hour with Daniel, and we're like talking about all this stuff, running through all these things, business stuff. And then at the end, I'm like, hey, so like, what is like the thing I should ask you? Like, I didn't ask you. And he's like, I spend all day, every day reading through summaries of companies, like constantly seeing which ones are prime for investment, like 100 a day for like years. It's like, so maybe ask me what makes a good one. So I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll ask you what makes a good like summary, like company summary, like investable. And what he said was really interesting. So, so I just focus on those two things, and then I also try to provide value to them in some way if you can. And this is the other big thing with mentors is actually do the stuff they tell you to do. Like I see so many people that will like they'll find a person who's like really high up, they'll like go speak with them, and the mentor will tell them what to do, and then they'll go and they'll either one not do it, or two they'll do it, and then they'll be like, awesome, I did it. Like, no, go back and tell them that you did it, and then they're like, oh, cool, this guy's actually doing the stuff, so I'll give him more pieces, right? Because usually when a mentor gives you advice, they're thinking like they're way smarter than you, right? They're way wiser. So they're thinking like 10 steps ahead. So they're giving you like steps 1 and 2, but they probably know why it's going to be good for you. So like I've always found that if a mentor tells me something and I do it, then I'll go and I'll come back to them and be like, show them that I did it. And then they're like hooked. They're like, okay, this is a guy who I want to actually.
Yeah. That's awesome. What's kind of your process with like fostering these relationships with these mentors? Like, do you have a newsletter? Do you have like a monthly chat with them?
Yeah, I try to meet with them quarterly. But generally I'll say like, I'll go to you. So like choose your favorite coffee shop that's just what's the easiest place for you to walk to? Because I want to meet with them in person. I find that in person is just a much more, I've done meetings online, but in general, if you can meet with them in person, you've won like half the battle. Even if that means like taking the train for like several hours, or like even flying to go see someone, like you can have that conversation that changes everything for you. And so, and then in terms of like my cadences, like communication cadences, at any given time, I don't have like a ton of mentors I'm meeting with regularly, if that makes sense. It's like you have a specific problem, right? So like you might have a mentor that you need to solve that problem, right? So you have people, like you have mentors for seasons, or they get you to some level. I had a really great sales mentor early on who like taught me the fundamentals of sales and how I do this and how I can, get people to give me money and stuff like that. But like beyond that, everything else he did, his whole background was in like medical sales and stuff. So like that's all the stuff that he knows really well. So he can give me advice on those things. But I was like, look, this is like, I'll come to you if this is a thing that I need, but I need to find the next person that can give me the next keys in my journey, right? Because I'm in tech. Likewise, the founder I spoke to recently, like he, knew a lot about enterprise pricing. Like he was really good at pricing. He understood a lot about that. And so like, I'm going to go talk to him when I need pricing help, but like, he's never raised money. So like, that's a totally different skill set I wouldn't go to him for. So really what it is like, I try to check in with them basically as little as I can to maintain the relationship. And then when it's like, this is the person I need at this time, then I'll try to meet with them like every week or like every other week. Like, just see them as much as possible. Like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. Like, cool, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Until I get to the point where they're like, yeah, like, keep going, but you maybe need to seek out another person. And they know as well. They know when you're entering a realm that's not their expertise. If they're a good mentor, they will.
Or go watch 90 Day Millionaire.
Yeah, go watch Undercover Billionaire.
All right. Henry, thank you. I do need to step out. I have another meeting in 10 minutes, but I really appreciate you coming onto the stream. I mean, you guys can continue. Definitely check him out on LinkedIn. Henry, you drop all your socials.
Oh, yeah.
We'll throw them into the chat too.
100% check me out on LinkedIn at Henry Sabin, HenrySabin, and you can check me out on Twitter, aka x.com. It's
just one X.
The underscore Sabinator, THE_SABINATOR.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Larry, thanks so much.
No problem. Absolutely.
Yeah, man,
I mean,
awesome.
I'd love to, if we can't do it tonight, or if you guys can't get to it tonight, I would love to get feedback on Convi or meet up again at another time to
100%.
give you.
And we can maybe get a call with Daniel too. Because
absolutely. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna spend the next 10 minutes. So I'm curious.
All right.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Bye, buddy.
Larry.
I'm curious how we can help you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just need UX help.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% on Convi and usability, because it's kind of a complex concept, right? Like, you're talking about creating a video, which is already like confusing to people, because when they think of creating a video, they think of literally like filming.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, ways that we can design it that make it clear how it works and what it's supposed to do. I'll show you the actual.
Please do.
Like,
that's my next question. Yeah, because like when you just said that, I was like, wait a minute. I thought it was creating a video. Like, I mean, I'm imagining it like this. Like, I create a video with my camera right here. I'm giving my pitch, whatever.
Yep.
And then your technology then alters the language and then my mouth movement to say whatever X, Y, Z things I want to say otherwise.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't think that's fantastic. I love the idea. And I'm definitely advising you to run with that.
The way that it works is that we take what you said and we do speech to text.
Mm-hmm.
So we literally will take everything you said and boom, instantly speech to text it, and then you just go into that script and you just like click on words you said as a variable, and then you map them to your spreadsheet, and then it will just go run through all the variables. Yeah. So, but like right now, it's like it's just been fully designed to be technical. It's unstyled, so it can be done in a way that will be really usable and user friendly. And there's other companies doing similar stuff right now. So yeah, we can maybe take a look at.
Yeah, I'm looking at the website now.
Yeah, you're looking at Convi right now?
Yeah. If you want to share your screen or.
Yeah. Do you want to take? Are we still live?
Yeah, we are.
How do I share my screen?
Let's see. Bottom left, there's a little computer window button next to kind of the emojis on the GatherTown UI. Bottom left, next to meeting room, microphone, camera, and then there's a share button.
Cool.
Yeah, so like give you a little bit of like background on like what Larry and I have been doing. Like, yeah, we're producing this podcast. It's kind of a what do we gotta do? There you go. Thank you.
Can you see this?
Yep, perfect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Before we jump into
this is the new website.
Yeah, let me give you some context as far as what Larry and I are doing. So we're doing this podcast, kind of, get ourselves going in this content creation field. But what we really want to do is help early stage startups with pro bono consulting so that we can showcase the design process. And we think that's very important. So definitely would love to help you with Convi and offer any services we can. We would like to discuss how much of it we can showcase live. Obviously, there's going to be some things that you don't want to be shown, and that's completely understandable. But it's our mission to be able to kind of showcase the design process, democratize it a little bit, and kind of run sprints and research and all that. So
it seems to me like you're trying to sort of show like step by step, what does this process actually look like, the design process look like, so it demystifies it for people who don't understand.
Exactly, right? So for like people
undercover billionaire, but for design.
yeah, I was actually thinking that when you were saying that earlier. So I mean, it's for various people, right? It's for like people like you that like might not know what the design process is, kind of get like a inside view into the processes and methods, but even more so how a team works together. So one of the most important things in any industry is the lingo, right? If you can't speak how the industry speaks, then you're dead in the water, right? Like you're just gonna be lost and not gonna be all that helpful. So like being able to understand the lingo of product designers, I think is helpful for founders that aren't design centric, but also junior designers in themselves, right? Like if you're just getting into this industry and this career, it's good to be able to watch a team of designers work together. And I'm pulling that from my own personal experience, right? And
awesome.
So yeah, let's jump into the Convy and see what we can do.
Cool. I'll pull it up right now. I just gotta make sure that I don't want to open any. I don't want to.
Yeah. Take your time.
Give away anybody's data accidentally. Okay. Boom. So I'm just gonna share my entire screen. Well, you can see.
Yep, I got you.
Cool. So you can see this.
Yep.
In front of me.
The list of videos.
Nice. So basically, the way it works is like this. So you have a AI model, and this is the clone of your voice. So this is like really the crux of it, is cloning the voice. Moving the lips is kind of easy, but here you do create AI model, and then you will speak into this. You speak into the microphone for takes about 45 minutes. We're trying to get the time down, but you speak into this, start sampling, and then
I have to speak into that for 45 minutes.
Yeah, like 45 minutes worth of voice samples. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I know it's a long time, but you get infinite videos after, so
it's what it
pretty
is.
good deal.
Yep.
So you speak into this thing, so you say like whatever you're saying, finish, and then this just lets you go through a series of phrases. You say each phrase, and then it records the phrase, and then it uses AI to map what you said to the words in order to create the voice clone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So this is the first step. And then the second step is that you upload a lead list. So this is basically you just upload and then you map the actual some of the lead variables to the information in the list, just so it knows what things are called.
What's the document that I have to put into that? Just Excel?
Just CSV, okay. CSV or Excel, yeah.
Gotcha.
CSV is comma separated variables. So then you record the actual video. So let me see which of these have the audio on them. So basically, you come in here. I'll show you actually on a new one. Create video template. You select the voice you want to use, and then you get quite literally like a. You see here how I'm in this circle?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is like a loom, basically. Do you know what loom is?
I do not. I feel like I've heard
loom
it.
is a loom. I can show you right now.
I feel like I've been to this.
Loom lets you create like videos like this, where you're like in the little circle type deal.
Yep.
Yeah, they're really popular for video outreach. So ours actually also will it also can send the videos on. It can also integrate the videos onto Loom. But basically, you come in here, you record the video. I can't do it right now because my mic is being used by the
Gather
Cool Venture Studio office.
Yep.
But if I would record the video in here, and then after I record the video, it would do a I can't show you. I don't know if I can show you right now because the backend is being wiped by Daniel. But what I can show you actually is I'll show you in this video.
Yeah.
It'll take you record the voice, and then it will take the clone, and it will literally turn it into. You see this? It'll literally just turn the speech into text like this, and then you just select the variables.
Yep.
And then you map them to. You input the lead list. This is what the lead list mapping looks like, and then you input them. It'll just take the leads and put them into the list, and then generate a bunch of videos that look like this. So it's like a talking head over their website. So it'll actually. Our software will visit their website and record their website and scroll around on their website. So it looks like you're on the website while you're talking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, I just visited 1,000 websites and like talked about the specifics on the website while I was on there, and then made them into videos and emailed them out. Except I just did one thing for 45 minutes, and then I can do that every day for the rest of my life, pretty much.
Now, what's the risk if the receiver of this video understands that it's AI, or like, is there Is there any
I don't know
feelings
if there's
of
any risk,
I'm-
but yeah, I mean, if it doesn't look realistic, like that's not great. And if the user knows that it's not AI, then like it can feel like it's not being genuine.
Mhm.
But there's no like real risk necessarily, other than potentially hurting the relationship.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But it's important to note that we're only using AI for like a tiny piece of video. So usually it's like just the name, a couple variables.
Right.
It's usually not a whole AI generated video. So the videos look pretty natural because they're mostly normal videos with just like 1 or 2 seconds that are actually like AI generated.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So what we need help with is figuring out like there's a bunch of problems here, right? So number one is it like I'll share my screen again.
Yeah, I felt like I mean, I don't know if that was the actual process that you go through, but it didn't feel very step by step.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. Also, these are like not in the order that like they need to be done.
Right.
And scripting is another big piece of it. So people want to like type out the scripts and read them from the thing. So we need another piece up here so that people can do that. And there's also a whole bunch of usability stuff in terms of like training the AI model. Because like right now, people do 45 minutes in a row, and we should probably break it down in such a sense that they can do maybe like 5 or 10 minutes at a time. So that instead of doing it all like
yeah, or at least the option
at
to.
once.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, these also are just like these just come in here like in a row.
Mhm.
So these are not like these don't get like sorted or you know, like these aren't in like folders or anything. So there's a ton of usability stuff that can be done. And also just in terms of styling, you can see we just have like
Yeah.
just put the stuff in there. Yeah.
It looks. I mean, yeah, it doesn't look bad. But yeah, it's
No, it doesn't look. Daniel's done a
fancy.
nice job with it,
Yeah.
but he's really just focusing on building it in such a way that it's going to be um, usable, right? So that companies can start making money with it, and then
Yeah.
make it
Yeah,
actually look like nice and fun to use after the fact. Because ideally, you could have a whole sales team using it, right? So like
That's what I
could
thought.
have
When you were first
Yeah.
pitching it, I was like, oh, this is a sales tool to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Well, right now it's a lot of agencies that are doing outbound that like to use it. So it might be like one person who's doing like cold outbound for like, you know, 5 companies. So they might be doing thousands of videos. So like that's easier for us to manage because we have less users, but we can make more money per user because they're doing more videos per person.
Mhm.
But long term, ideally, you can like sell it to a whole company of sales teams, and it's easy enough that like just an outbound rep can sit down and like figure it out from just showing up. And the other thing that needs to be done is like some sort of tutorial as well in the software, right?
Which yeah,
Help
absolutely. And from experience, and I would say that's the most difficult to land properly. Nobody likes tutorials. Like
yeah, right.
the click through.
Yeah, everyone wants to skip those.
Everybody skips tutorials. So if it's done cleverly, if it's done fun, and yeah, it can be done, but it is I think it's difficult. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, sweet. Can we put together a meeting? I can text or call you after this, and we can maybe meet later this week with Daniel, and we can like have a conversation about it.
Absolutely.
That'd be perfect, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a few minutes. I want to pitch you something.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Do it. Give me a second. Yeah, this is what I was thinking of pitching at the hackathon, but I don't know. I just wanted to join a team, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Boston Blind Date. Cool. See my screen?
Yep.
All right. So it's bostonblinddate.com. That's the only URL I could get. I was calling the product Chat Bowl. So this is, and you kind of said something about a dating app early in your talk, and I thought it was funny. So what this is it's kind of like The Bachelorette or The Bachelor or Love is Blind, kind of all those reality dating shows in
100%.
in app form. So how it works is, let's take Boston as an example. We get people to sign up that are interested in being on this platform. Out of that sample, we choose 6 people, right?
Okay.
And we match them based on their dating preferences, right? So we're looking for people that are like highly compatible with each other. So that makes 3 couples, okay? So if you can kind of see, I don't know if we can zoom in here. Yeah, I built a prototype, but we'll just go with this. So actually no, maybe I'll open the prototype. Maybe that'll work. Where are we at? You know how much I love my prototypes. Yeah. So
I also love your prototypes.
Yeah, this is the tutorial that I put together, and I did this.
By the way, it was your prototype that won us text.
So
that's 100% you.
No, I told Larry this last week when we were talking to Vivek. Like, your pitch got us 90% there. I would say my prototype got us the other 10 over the hump. But yeah, all the stuff that
thanks, man. I appreciate
all
that.
the stuff that the team was able to put into that deck and get those sales, like all the work everybody in that team put in really did actually make us win. And your idea was awesome. But okay, so we get Boston, we get some daters, we get 3 couples, right? So these 3 couples have an amount of time. Let's just say 2 weeks to talk.
Yep.
So Kelly and Mike have 2 weeks to talk to each other. Tina and Fahim, Miguel and Karen have 2 weeks to talk to each other. They can talk either through video chat, right? So they can have like little FaceTimes together and video chat, or they can message each other, right? And share pictures, talk about their dogs, whatever. That's my dog right there. Shout out.
Okay.
Now this is an older prototype, and like I've changed I've pivoted a little bit, but during this 2 weeks, the audience and the rest of the world can read and watch everything they do. Right. So I as a user, as 99% of the user base, will not be one of these daters, will not be one of these people, right? I will probably never be one of these people. I'll never get chosen to be one of these people.
Yeah, it's like game show.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. But
as the 99% base, I'll be able to watch these videos and read everything they say to each other for that 2-week period. This is the original idea. I was like, I can then donate money to the couple that I like, but it's been changed.
Okay.
It's been changed to I'll vote for the person that I like, right? So back, this is when I was like gonna donate money, but
donate money and then like that pays for the date or something.
Right. So I've pivoted, right? Because like
a
lot of people were giving me feedback, a little apprehensive about giving money to a couple, right? Like what value does that really give them, right? So instead of giving money, they just vote. So I vote on one of these 3 couples that I like. Say Kelly and Mike really did it for me for some reason, and I vote for them. At the end of that 2 weeks, whoever has the most votes wins the prize money. So the revenue and the business model is through sponsorship and advertising. Let's just say Dunkin' Donuts is sponsoring this cycle, this 2-week cycle of this game show, this virtual game show. Dunkin' Donuts will give $1,000 to the winner of this particular cycle, and they must spend that $1,000 on the first date. They must spend every penny on the first date. That way, we're kind of like getting rid of like the monk.
It's like Mr. Beast meets Love Island meets
Exactly, yes. And then that first date can then be recorded and produced for the audience as well, right? Through a YouTube channel or what have you. Maybe there's another feature on this that shows like where past videos are. And yeah, $1,000 is a great amount. It could be more, right? Because like I want 10,000, right? I want again, that Mr. Beast effect. I want a baller date, right? I want people to rent limos and Lambos and rent out a restaurant.
$1,000 is a lot for a
$1,000
date,
is a lot. I know.
Straight up.
Straight up.
10K is a lot.
10K is
you're talking about a lot of money.
Yeah, 10K is you're doing the Mr. Beast stuff. $1,000, yes, you're gonna have a fantastic dinner at like the best restaurant in Boston. You're gonna be able to rent a limo to like drive you around for the night.
North End.
Yep, North End, or you'll be able to rent a really high end chauffeur or whatnot to kind of pull you around because you don't want to drive a limo in Boston. And the cycle keeps going. So like every week or every 2 weeks, however we kind of like pull this the window in which these people have to communicate and win. You keep running it over and over again, and then you scale it to every city across the world. Right, so every city is running its own little game show, right? Which I think is fascinating, right? Because then you would have hundreds of these little mini competitions to choose from all around the world. So I can see how people in Paris date and how they talk to each other and how they court each other, so to say. I can see people all around the world and how they communicate with each other, which I think is really interesting. But yeah, that was my little.
That's awesome, man.
This is my little pandemic idea that some friends and I worked on when we got out of our boot camp.
It's super interesting.
Thank you.
So and then Is this like a business? Like, is there a place where you would make money?
So, I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. So like when I've gotten feedback for this, like I don't have what you were talking about, the pain, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't have a major pain that I'm solving other than entertainment, right? So that
You have eyeballs, though. Everyone will
it
pay for
is
eyeballs.
exactly
Yeah.
is an entertainment product, and it
Yep.
the only thing I would say that I'm solving is um kind of showcasing how to do online dating, right? Because like, you know, you're a little bit younger than me, but like we both were given when we both came into dating, online dating was a thing, right? Like it was just a
Yep.
readily available tool that we
Sure.
but in today's day and age, that's basically how everybody goes about dating. But there's no manual, right? Like there's no like code of ethics, or there's no like proper way to do it. And it can get messy and kind of toxic at times,
100%.
right? So
100%.
and not only just the toxicity, just the how do I say, like the confidence in it. Not a lot of people are like as confident as they should be when talking to
Sure.
somebody online, right? They don't know what
Sure.
to say.
And in person.
And in person, exactly.
Yeah.
So like being able to see case studies in a sense of how people do it in real life might give some people some confidence and some ideas and some techniques, and I don't know. But again, that's a pain point in and of itself, but like it's not
So like if you can aggregate attention, you can make money.
yeah, I agree.
If you can get attention, you can make money. And just period. So like I like it. The difficult thing is going to be is like I said, like innovational risk, right? Like do people want to watch? So like the unique thing about this over like a dating show is the app.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise it's basically just like it's The Bachelor, but you can see them text.
Yeah.
Right. Am I getting that wrong, or is there?
No,
is
you're right. So like,
or is that what it sounds like to me?
that is exactly it. So it is a dating game show in app form that you have kind of a peeping window into viewing. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. Okay, so you get to sort of see like what they're texting. So
or
like,
the video chats, which are definitely more popular than the text.
Right. Gotcha. So like, here's the thing: when you make content, right? Like content's super competitive. So like there's lots and lots of people making lots of content. So like you really need to value stack all the pieces that are going to be most valuable. Like boom, 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 boom. Like when you watch a Mr. Beast video, like particularly like the modern ones, it's literally like 30-second of like the most crazy thing you've ever seen. And like on. Another 30 seconds, and like we blew up a bus, and then we put up wings on a bus and we flew it like into the first one. Like they just keep doing like crazier and crazier stuff, right? So like the question is like, you're making a piece of content. The question is like, how much can you value stack? Like, how can you provide as much dopamine per minute as possible, right, to the viewer? And so the question I would have is like, your unique advantage here is that you get to see the way that people are using the apps. The difficult thing is going to be one, getting people to actually use them in a genuine way, because like, when people know that they're being viewed, they become performative very quickly.
Yeah.
And so like that's why a lot of those shows where they film you for like 50 hours or for like 50 days straight or whatever are like awesome, because like people can't like act for like 50 days like in a row. It's really difficult to do. And also like it's just so much time that like something crazy is going to happen, and they're also like picking people that are crazy.
And the producers are like pushing for the crazy to happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're trying to make it happen. They're like trying to instigate it. They're like, making everyone tired and hungry and like trying to like get like craziness. So like I would say for your idea, the key thing is going to be like, one, like, do people want to see the texting element? Like, is that a piece that's more interesting to them than the in-person element? Because if it's not more interesting to them, or at least more interesting to some subsection of the market, like, it doesn't need to be cool to everyone, but at least there's got to be a section of people that like find that more interesting than the ones without that. And then also like, I mean, there's definitely people that will do it. Like, there's definitely people that will be the ones who date just because.
I have a few people that signed up to do that, and I'm like, that's you.
There's lots of people that want to do the date, right? The difficult thing is, and then are you going to like film the date?
I would love to. And
that's like the idea.
Yeah, I would love to.
Because like if they drop 10K on a date, but like no one sees it, like
that's what I'm saying.
Do they really drop 10K on a date?
Yeah. Whether or not it's like vlogged, right? Like whether or not we put it on the daters themselves to like vlog it, or we hire like a 2-person production crew. But yeah, I think that's probably some of the best content, right? Because now you actually get to see the love spark,
Yeah.
right? Like in person,
Yeah.
you get to see these people interact and go on crazy and do crazy experiences. Yeah, I do love the like, and you did do the reaction that I absolutely love. Like once you realize that you can like watch what these people say and do, I think that is very interesting, and yeah, it has a little bit of a cool factor. But honestly, like I haven't really touched it in years because like the business model of it, like all the 4 points that you were saying, like
I love it. I would watch it. The only
yeah,
thing that's difficult is the money part
exactly,
because
yeah,
like people also have a general tendency to vastly underestimate the amount of profit that's necessary in order to run a business.
yeah,
Because even if you can get like, even if you can get like 10,000 people watching, which is like that's a lot of people,
yeah.
right? That's like
If I had that on
what?
Twitch or if I had that on YouTube, we'd be golden.
Yeah, that's like 1% of Boston or something like
Yeah,
that. Like that's like a massive amount of people. Like that might not necessarily be enough money to take care of one. You need an outbound team to get in touch with the brands,
yeah,
right? You need a team to actually build and maintain the app,
yeah,
and then you need a team to moderate all those people, right? Or to
yeah,
some degree of moderation for those people,
yeah.
and then you need to have money at the end of that to put back into the business, and then you need to have money left over to take out. So like that's a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And so I really like the idea from like a just content.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's also interesting, right? Because you're making it sort of interactive. So when the people are looking at the text and stuff, are they doing that on their phone or they're like watching that on like Twitch or something?
On their phone. So I was thinking about making a native app
Cool.
or a website.
Cool. So
yeah.
it's like I have the app on my phone and
Yeah.
I can go and like see all the other people
all around the world, just dating. Yeah,
see all their dating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting. It's really interesting.
yeah. I've been using it more as less as an icebreaker at like networking events. It's like been
That's
been
awesome.
going great for me on that front. But like again, as a business model, it's not something that I think it would be too. I would really need to like hit a home run and like
Here's what I would say: if you want to do it, I would just do one of those. Like I hate innovation. Like I would do one of those. I shouldn't say that because like it's not that I hate it, but
yeah.
I would do one of those. I just really like things that are proven to work. I would do one of those like virtual Tinder or like real life Tinder videos. You know what they do? But like they have like they'll have like a girl or a guy, and then they'll have like a line of people, and then they'll
I've seen
like
these,
present and they'll like swipe on them.
Yeah.
Like I would do something like that. I would start with something like that, and then just add this as the second part of the series and see if people watch it.
I found something in Boston. It's called It's a Date.
Okay.
I forgot the name of the woman, the fantastic woman that hosted and founded it, but it's a very similar idea. It has a little bit more of a comedy spin on it. It's a live show where she brings up people that are single on stage.
Yep.
And she introduces them in front of the stage, and they kind of do this concept of like they're talking, they're like feeling each other out. It is comedy though, and it can get raunchy, and she like she'll interject and ask some questions to make the audience laugh and make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Of course.
But it's basically this app premise in the live stage form, and she's doing great. She's really killing it out there. So
100%.
there's slight market trends and case studies for this, but yeah. But like I said, and honestly, and then the other thing, like I don't necessarily want.
So is this? Sorry, yeah.
No. Just say like I don't necessarily want to be the CEO of this company. I would love to be the CPO and like build the product and
100%.
help everything. So the past like year or two, whenever I get a chance, I'll jab it out to people to see if they know anybody that wants to.
Are you based in Cambridge?
Watertown, right next to
Watertown?
Cambridge. Yeah, like 5 minutes from Cambridge.
Okay, sweet.
Where are you? Are you in Cambridge?
I'm in. I'm like a half hour north of Boston right now. I'm in Marblehead.
Oh, right.
If you know where that is.
Yeah.
I'm just I I'd like to meet up with you and talk with you more about it.
Get down here.
Yeah.
Get closer to Boston. I thought your brother.
Yeah, I'm gonna be moving to Cambridge pretty soon. Like I just got back. So like I got back from Australia like the week of Techstars. So like I literally got back like that Monday and then was like competing that Friday. So then I've been looking for a place since. I had an apartment in JP, but I broke the lease because I was like going to Australia to surf, and I was like, I don't know how many months I'm gonna. My visa got approved for like 6 months. I was like,
I love JP. I just don't like going to JP. Just this.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
I
didn't
driving to. I mean, it was such a funny thing. So my partner and I, we were talking about like when we were dating, and seeing somebody's profile, and as soon as it said JP, I was like, Sorry, I can't.
I ain't trying to go to JV.
Yeah.
Hey, so can I ask you, for this app, is it also like an app for the people who are dating publicly? Are they also finding each other on this app?
No. So I was thinking of like just doing that behind the scenes, right? Like, especially for like in the MVP version. So like again, if I get 100 people to sign up to be daters, then like me and the team are kind of like rifling through those applications and kind of Wizard of Oz type style behind the curtain, putting them together.
What could be cool as well potentially would be like a you're gonna put them together. What will be cool as well is like, I don't know, if you could find a way to just save and export conversations from existing dating apps that have already happened, and then just put those in a log to see if people want to read them.
That's not a bad
I guess
idea.
part of the excitement is that it's live.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not a bad idea.
But that way you can because that way you're cherry picking the conversations that are already crazy that have already happened and people want to share them, and then you can create a log of all just the best hits. Because like the thing about media is there's so much media generated that it's really got to be like a top like 0.1% of like all the things that have happened for people to want to consume it. Put in a lot of time to consume it, because you need a lot of eyeballs for a long time to monetize. Yeah. But I guess live eyeballs are worth a lot more than
that's
ones that aren't live.
that is my selling
That's
point.
a big piece of
so
it.
Listen, that's my selling point for what we're doing now, right? So for this stream, I've been like prompting people. Oh, and I had a conversation with that woman from Techstars. I'm assuming you have as well. Have you had your meeting with Techstars yet?
No.
Oh, you're supposed to.
Who'd you meet with from Techstars?
Jennifer. You're supposed to meet with somebody, buddy. I'll connect you. Or I mean, Vivek was supposed to connect you, or Marsha, somebody should connect you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk. I talked to Vivek recently, but yeah, I'll see.
Yeah.
Wait, we talk about what? Just about like.
So I was talking with the woman from Techstars about this venture. So like I wanted.
Okay, cool.
About what I'm doing now with this stream and kind of to showcase product design entrepreneurialism in a documented journey fashion, right? Like in long form content creation. I was pitching to them like the value prop of having a live audience to tap into is something that, like, if I'm looking at this as like a design firm, there's no design firm in the world that has that value prop of being able to tap into a live audience for research, adoption, feedback, marketing, all of it, right? Like, so it'd be phenomenal if we could stream 8 hours a day going over product design, talking about like entrepreneurialism and the processes and methods that are needed and people are going through. Like, if we're using the chapel as an example, right? We're just building this startup live, right? The full journey live. We get out of a sales meeting or we get out of a marketing meeting and then we update the community, right?
It's
like,
awesome.
You know what I mean? We go over the checkpoints and be like, hey, this is what we did. This is the friction that we're coming over. This is a hurdle that we came across. This is how we came over. This is how we failed. This is what we learned from our failure.
Yeah.
And
even just seeing it, people love to just see the raw what happened in the room.
Yeah, it's wild. And Twitch and what people are doing on like Twitch and live streaming is absolutely bonkers now. Like, I was watching a woman she has on Twitch. She set up a camera in her pizza shop.
Yeah,
it's just her and her father.
That's it.
And it's just her. That's it, right? And she talks to them and she makes pizzas and everything like that. But like 5,000 viewers, right? Like, it's just 5,000 people are like viewing into her on an 8-hour stream of her making pizzas. But yeah, people.
What we can do is we can just use Convi to make a bunch of generate a bunch of AI video calls from people and
put it on the dating app.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I wanted.
They fall in love every time. Who knew? Yeah.
Yo, another thing I was thinking too, for the streaming thing is, what if? I mean, I don't know if it's like, out there but like a host that's AI. Like, imagine you can see my picture box now with me in it, but like imagine just my face was AI, right? And like it changed, and like maybe the background, maybe we had like the pictures out here change, and like I thought that'd be cool too.
100%. The thing about AI is that like right now humans are generally better than AI at a lot of things, and so you want to replace the things that humans are. Well, you just want to replace the cheap, the things that are like easy to replace the things that are easier for the AI to do first. Hosting is kind of a complex thing to do. You need to have.
Right. So like, I would still be the guy talking, right?
Right.
I would just want like AI mapped over my face and Yeah, maybe like
saying the words, though, right?
no. I
Maybe
would say the words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would say
Oh, the AI just be like a filter or something you're talking about?
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Totally. You can totally do that now. Yeah, you do that with Snapchat, bro.
Yeah.
Hop on there.
Yeah, dude, this was fucking awesome.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Let's yeah, we have each other's number. Let's set up a meeting for Daniel and Larry and I, and we'll see what we can do.
That sounds great. Pleasure speaking to you.
Yeah.
I just hit. I don't know how to leave this. I hit leave office.
You do hit leave office. See you, buddy.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, John. See you. Bye.
All right, chat. That was awesome. Yeah, such a good talk. I think we have a client that Larry and I can offer some pro bono consulting to, and we'll continue working with Convi, convi.io. Go check them out, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.